There were complicating issues though. It wasn't as easy as it seemed or sounded. German citizens and residents were mercilessly randomly attacked with the mumps during puberty from the early 1800s. Lunatics cut a swathe through Germany every year, infecting anyone who looked puberty age at random, like a roving mob, including citizens of nations part of the defunct Kingdom of Prussia that were outside of Germany. One of the motives was Prussia owning nothing in Germany when it existed until permanently defunct in 1941. It caused Germany to have massive adult infertility issues in the 18 and 1900s, including from WW1 right through to WW2. There was a huge demand for babies for adoption by citizens and residents of Germany as a result. Infertile couples, victims of the puberty infection rampages, looking to adopt children. In the 1900s it coincided with another illegal phenomenon. Baby thefts from residents of the state of Victoria, Australia between World War I and World War II. The infants were stolen at birth or shortly after birth by the thousands. All stolen from Port Phillip Bayside suburbs like St Kilda and Brighton. Those suburbs had huge numbers of small unit-sized birthing hospitals. It was a very sensible and somewhat traditionally fashionable place to have children. It was particularly popular amongst couples from what is now called Gippsland. Also Ballarat, Bendigo, West Victoria and the Murray region. Mostly Gippsland and the then locals, though. I won't mince words here. The phenomenon was caused by dirty money funded to two particular now AFL clubs. Money from Canada, for the most part. They funded one team, who paid another to do the dirty work. Violence against new mothers who made complaints was not unusual in some cases. People still pretend to brag about their parents and grandparents beating or kicking women who complained that all but one baby was missing after having a multiple birth. The stolen babies were immediately offered to anyone who wanted to leave with one as immediately as possible, including on boats and then planes, as long as they weren't staying in the Bayside region. Any leftovers were then shipped to what is now the state of Tasmania, usually. The Tasmanians then did the basics for the stolen children. They weren't being Good Samaritan types at all. Even if they tried to fake it. They weren't happy about it. They didn't want to do it in bulk, really. They agreed, though. So, they muttered and swore, complaining about how many babies they had to feed, change nappies for, and put up with. The Tasmanians did what they agreed to do. Then picked from the huge bunch of stolen children. Like picking one type of chocolate out of boxes of chocolates when deciding which ones they wanted to keep and raise themselves. The rest were dumped in foreign countries for possible adoption in hordes. The biggest demand going around between World War I and World War II was Germany, due to its difficulties with extremely high rates of adult infertility. Most of the unchosen stolen children ended up there, mysteriously filling an almost constant need. The Tasmanians involved always tried to convince the ones they kept themselves and the ones dumped in Germany and other places that they were Tasmanians, even indigenous Tasmanians, first, before keeping them or dumping them for adoption. They weren't Tasmanians at all. They were all Victorians, particularly indigenous to Gippsland. Also, Ballarat and Bendigo, etc. The second biggest category was locals to Port Phillip Bayside areas. Mostly indigenous Gippslanders, to be frank. Those families killed in a mass genocide by the neo-Nazis between December 1943 and mid-1945 had quite a lot of adopted children around at the time. And some that were the intergenerational descendants of stolen children adopted by German citizens and residents. Quite a few survivors of World War II amongst the rest. That bizarre extra connection between Germany and places like Gippsland that cannot be explained by my Hohenzollern royal family being part Gippslander since at least the 1790s via Princess Louise, also the Queen of Prussia. She was originally from the old city of Yarragon in what is now Gippsland before emigrating to Mecklenburg-Strelitz as a child. She married future Kaiser Frederick Wilhelm III, also the future King of Prussia at the time. They were both homosexual and just got on really well intellectually. No sex involved, obviously. Those people who think they are, or their ancestors were, Tasmanians are wrong. They can get on okay until they try to talk about being Tasmanians. Then it becomes a difficult process as they are just plain wrong. They are part Gippslander, etc. Part Victoria, Australia. Tasmanians' connection excuses that they were once Burinyong living in what is now Gippsland too in its southwest before mass emigrating to Tasmania of their own accord and decision thousands of years ago doesn't get them out of it. Yarrayalu and Gunakonai are the two remaining cultural indigenous groups in Gippsland. Yarrayalu has been rarely mentioned since the arson riot in 1858 caused 1.5 million people to become homeless in Gippsland. And since the Yarra River was named as a memorial to the old city of Yarragon in Gippsland. It is cobblestones that are over 500 years old from the old city of Yarragon lining the banks of the river in some places. All that very Gippsland-looking north shape. Using the cultural term Yarrayalu to describe one of the two Gippsland indigenous cultural groups has not been banned, officially or unofficially. There is nothing wrong with mentioning it. People who claim it being mentioned is not allowed have got it very wrong, regardless of the excuse.